Welcome into the Jazz Notes podcast. I'm Ben Anderson.
I'm Chandler Holt.
We are recording this on December 15th. We'll have to talk about what we're actually doing going forward. I'm off for a little while because of the holidays. I know you're off for a little while for the holidays. So there may not be one next Monday unless you want to do solo. We just haven't talked about it.
Yeah.
But we will figure that out. And we will let you know regardless of what's going to be the case. But the Jazz have played 2 games since you and I last talked. 1 game since DJ and I last talked. Because they played, maybe it's only 1 game since you and I last talked.
Yeah, just the Memphis game.
And it was the Memphis game on Friday night. We will talk about that. We will look at their week coming up and some news and notes around the Jazz. Then, of course, get your mailbag questions. You can find us on social media at Ben's Hoops and C Holt Sports, both Twitter and Blue Sky. And that's how you can get into the mailbag or DM me. My DMs are always open. But let's start with the very abbreviated week that was, where the Utah Jazz get a somewhat surprising win on the road at Memphis. Though the kind of rule of the thumb for the Jazz has been, if Jusuf Nurkic is the best center on the floor, the Jazz are probably going to win that game.
Yeah.
They beat Boston. They beat Brooklyn. They beat... Maybe Phoenix doesn't qualify for this early in the year, and certainly Ivica Zubac and the Clippers don't qualify for this, but we didn't realize how bad the Clippers just were overall. But if Nurk is in the conversation as truly the best starting center, the Jazz have a chance to win those games. And when he's not, the Jazz usually get rolled. You know, and against, while I know Jaren Jackson Jr. technically started at the 5, I guess, in that game, like he's usually their 4, and Zach Edey's usually their 5, and Zach Edey was hurt. And that was a big part of the game. I think that's why fans maybe shouldn't, the ones that always want to tank, shouldn't necessarily panic about that game, especially because I think there's a real chance you lose to Dallas tonight. But an interesting game. Keyonte George, career high 39 points, obviously the main story.
And as you said, for Nurkic, it was an especially good game for him. He had 13 points, 17 rebounds, 7 assists. I think he had that 7 assists like early in the fourth quarter, so he was on triple-double watch for the last little stretch of the game there. And then also, like you mentioned, Keyonte, 39 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. That was the biggest storyline. But another storyline, it was a flashback Friday performance for Kevin Love, 20 points, 8 rebounds. 13 of those points came in the third quarter. Mind you, Keyonte went scoreless in the third quarter, and the Jazz were at risk of going down. But they actually ended up winning the third quarter because of Love and Sensabaugh, who combined for 24 points in that third quarter. When that game got added to the Jazz's schedule due to them not making it further in the NBA Cup, we were like, oh, it's probably a win for the Jazz. The Grizzlies aren't very good. Then I think they won 7 of their last 9 or something like that. And then we were like, oh, this is probably another loss for the Jazz. But like you mentioned, Nurkic being best center on the floor debatably, ends up in a 130-126 win.
I think when you added these 2 games, a game at home against Dallas and a game on the road against Memphis, there was a reasonable likelihood the Jazz were going to split these. And that still may be the case because, again, Dallas is also playing much better. And if Anthony Davis is playing and Cooper Flagg's playing at the level he's currently playing at, there's a realistic chance that the Jazz could lose this one. So we will see what happens tonight. Obviously, won't dwell on it too much because by the time this comes out, there's only going to be a couple of hours before that game. Though the interesting part is Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey going head-to-head. Ace has been on a little bit of a down streak. Last 4 games has not been shooting particularly well. I don't think he's broken 40% from the floor over his last 4, and even then you look at it, it's like, oh, they're not. None of them are disaster games. You know, he's not really a disaster game player. He's not a 2 of 17 guy. He's a 4 of 11 guy. You know, a 4 of 12 guy, and even then, was it against Memphis? He kind of got hot. I think he hit his last 3 shots.
Yeah, he did. And he had a dunk in the fourth quarter, and he hit a couple of his last shots. He finished shooting 4 for 12. You were right, 0 for 3 from 3, but 8 points, 4 rebounds. Like, the guy, not a disaster game. And I think coming out of Rutgers, we were like, oh, he might have some of those 3 for 15 games, like something like that. But I feel like we haven't seen it much this year.
And a guy who has had those a lot, which is where this is interesting and why the Keyonte game against Memphis, I think, should be very promising for Jazz fans and probably leads us into our talking point here today, is that he answered a bad game. I mean, Keyonte had a quote-unquote disaster game against the Thunder. He was 3 of 12 from the floor, 0 of 4 from 3. I think he scored, let me see if I can figure out his points here, 8 points. Like, that was a traditional Keyonte game. We saw a lot of those games over the last 2 years. And then he bounces back with the best game of his career. You know, he had 39 points, he had 8 assists, he had 6 rebounds, he had only 3 turnovers. He was playing with 5 fouls through most of the fourth quarter and didn't foul out of the game. He didn't get frustrated. He hit a bunch of clutch shots down the stretch. Like, he actually got better as that game went on, 5 of 9 from 3. And when he has had these bad games, we saw it against Houston 2 weeks ago. It was that Sunday game. He bounced back immediately and was great that Monday night. He was not very good 2 nights ago against Oklahoma City. Bounces back, is great against Memphis. He is not going in the tank. He's not collapsing under the weight of the pressure of being a great player. And I will tell you, Keyonte, because he was a top 5 recruit coming out of high school, going to Baylor, the way he's always kind of been lauded, the player he's been throughout his life, he expects to be a star. Yeah. The way he carries himself, the way he has trained his game. I could go back and read my kind of quote-unquote scouting report on him going into it, which is this is a player who looks like Donovan Mitchell and who looks like Jamal Murray and who looks like Devin Booker. Like, he plays like a star.
Yeah.
The shots don't go in. So what's the deal? What, is he a star, or is he a guy who looks like a star and the shots can't go in? And the truth is the shots are going in now. And he still plays like a star.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to say, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, is Keyonte George in fact a duck? Is he a star?
Yeah.
Because he is kind of walking the walk right now. And that is where I want to launch kind of a little bit of our conversation today, not to get too in-depth in it, but it does bring up an interesting point. And look, this got brought up by Yusuf Nurkic in a response to a Jazz fan of like, Nurkic's response was not kind. He tweeted out a photo of a kid that some might say was not the most flattering photo of a person. And Nurk was defending his teammates.
Yes.
And look, I don't even want to say it wasn't flattering. People look like people. It's just, I don't care what people look like. And, I know that's how people responded to Nurk's thing. And it wasn't the kindest thing Nurk's ever done. But the tweet from the fan or analyst or whatever had basically said that the Jazz need to tank this year because you don't build around Keyonte George, Lowry Markin, and Erace Bailey, and they still need to get a Darren Peterson or a Cam Boozer or an AJ DeBonza or whatever to kind of get out of this rebuild. And I think what's interesting now is, like, at what point do you have to be comfortable changing your opinion on Keyonte George, and how much is this actually changing? And there is a mailbag question about this, so we will kind of burn that mailbag question here, which is just like, what do you make of this from Keyonte? Like, at what point do you say, this is not a flash? This is who he is, and not only this is who he is, he's 22.
Yeah.
Like, Chandler, it's very reasonable to expect that he's getting better. Like, he was better in year 2 than he was in year 1. I know the shooting percentages didn't look better, but like we talked about a lot about his left-hand finishing, and like his playmaking got better, and he came off the bench for a while and like handled it really well. And now he's the starter. He's very comfortable with the ball in his hands. He's hitting big shots. He's shooting much better, especially if you get rid of those first 5 or 6 games of the season when he was shooting pretty atrociously. Like, this is a huge sample size. This is as good as any sample size he's ever put together, and it keeps getting better. So, A, is he the Jazz's best player? B, if he is, what does that mean about the team this season? What does it mean about Lowry Markkanen?
Firstly, I want to attack the first thing you said. 22 years old. He's freshly 22 years old.
Yeah,
I think
just turned 22.
Yeah, I think he might be 22 when next season starts.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, he turned 22 within this season.
Yeah. He's averaging 22.9 points, 4 rebounds, 6.8 assists on about 44.5, 34, 91%. Something interesting. Bradley Beal at 22 years old averaged 17 points on 45-39. A year later, 23, he jumped up 6 points to 23 and then 49, 40, 83.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, it is very reasonable to be like, Keontae's already made an awesome jump this year. It's very reasonable to expect him to get better next year and the year after.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, his efficiency is getting better and his shot selection is getting better. He's playing more within the offense. Maybe the next couple years he attacks his defense and the turnovers. Something really interesting I want to bring up, though, is the Jazz possessions end in turnovers 2.4% less when Keontae's on the floor, despite him thinking of him as like, oh, he's a turnover-prone guy. The last 2 years, it was more. It was 0.1% and 2.1% more Jazz possessions ended in a turnover with Keyonte on the floor. So it's like the Jazz, before it was like, oh, Keyonte has flashes, but it's like, okay, the Jazz are probably a worse team with him on the floor. Now it's like the Jazz are better with him on the floor. So it's like, if he's better and the Jazz are a better team, like, I feel like that's one of the main things about being a star is some guys are like, oh, you have empty stats. They're not a star. Like Cam Thomas, for example. Yeah. It's like, I don't think Keyonte is a Cam Thomas. I think Keyonte is closer to Jamal Murray than he is Cam Thomas.
Okay. Yeah, I think these are the hard questions that are being asked right now. Yeah. I mean, this is not easy. What you're trying to figure out with Keyonte George of what he is not easy. All right, I'm going to give you another player in his third year. Okay? 24 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 45% from the floor, 36% from 3. Here's Keyonte George again. 23 points, so a point less. 4 rebounds, identical. 7 assists, 6.8, 3 more. 44% from the floor, so a half percentage point below this other player. 34% as opposed to 36%. Third-year players.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't.
Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell also played 2 years of college.
Yeah.
So you're talking about Donovan Mitchell, who like a lot of people would consider right now maybe a top 10 player in the NBA. I don't know if I'm there, but like he's averaging 30. 3 years ago, I think he was averaging 28. He's been a 7-time All-Star. Like, honestly, Donovan Mitchell's probably punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame already. Like, I know that's crazy, but the NBA Hall of Fame is not that hard to make. Yeah. But, and he's only getting better. I mean, Donovan's playing the best year of his career right now. And the Cavs are bad, but he's averaging 30. He's averaging 5 assists, career high, or just below his career high at 6.1. what do the Jazz have right now in Keyonte George? And yes, Donovan was winning and won early in his career, and Keyonte George hasn't. Donovan also played with another Hall of Famer in Rudy Gobert, who was a multi-time Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know. I'm not trying to make crazy comparisons because, how big of a gap is there between Bradley Beal and Donovan Mitchell? I honestly, that's why Austin Ainge gets paid what he gets paid, and I'm not asked to do that job. And same with Justin Zanuck and Danny Ainge. Like, you have to delineate what looks good and doesn't matter and what looks good and does matter. And right now, Keyonte George looks good. And I will say, against Memphis, it really felt like it mattered, right? Like, you're making the big plays in the biggest situations. And I think we saw that against Chicago, and we've seen that in moments throughout the season. And then the other aspect of it is, like, the leadership is real. Like, there's a real rallying behind who Keyonte is as a person right now, like from the coaching staff, from the front office. I told you that I was told the Jazz traded Colin Sexton to make room for Donovan Mitchell, or for Keyonte George.
Yeah.
Like that. They have started betting on this well before what we're seeing right now. I don't know. Where does this go? Like, is Keyonte George on the verge of becoming a 7-time All-Star who's one of the faces of the team? Like, do you build around Donovan Mitchell? Is Donovan Mitchell not good enough to build around? Should Donovan be the number 2 on a team? I hate to just be peppering you with a million questions, but like, that's more of where I think the Jazz are right now in this rebuilding process versus how do we tank as much as possible to get this other guy? And look, maybe that is the right answer. Maybe you need to get Cam Boozer and put him with Donovan Mitchell, now Keyonte George, to take that next step. But maybe we need to start talking about Keyonte George more in that vein, even though it's only 20 games. Like, you do have to play the hand you're dealt. You do have to recognize the changes in the climate. And Keyonte George may have changed the climate for the Utah Jazz.
And another interesting thing is you just pointed out, like, basically all of the offensive numbers, right? Keyonte George, I think, has an argument to be a better defender than Donovan Mitchell. Neither of them are good defenders.
No question about it.
Yeah. And also, I would say, I wouldn't even like put this up for debate. I think Keyonte George is a better defender than Lauri Markkanen is right now. So it's like, is Keyonte George the Jazz's best player right now?
I think that's a very authentic question. I don't think that's jumping the gun. And Lowry's been fabulous this year. And why this is interesting, it's not like, oh, well, Lowry's playing what he did last year. Lowry's not averaging 19 points on 33% three-point shooting anymore. Lowry's having a great season. Lowry on a winning team is a guaranteed All-Star, and I think because of the new format, probably makes the All-Star team anyways, and might be the Jazz's second best player. Then what?
Yeah.
Look, the whole conversation about Lowry is he's not a number 1, right? That's kind of been known since pretty early on. Is like, he probably doesn't have the natural playmaking skills to be the number 1 guy late who's going to create his own shot. But if you found a guy who's creating his own shot in Keyonte George, who hits this crazy 3 against Ja Morant, or hits the fadeaway on the baseline against, was it Cam Spencer, who was the and drew the foul? Like, hey, now you do have a closer.
Yeah.
And what if he does hit those shots consistently and he's only 22 years old and he's getting better? And like, okay, well, what if Lowry's now your second best player? Is that good enough, or is that not good enough? Do you need now to get a guy who's better than both of them and Lowry slots down to the third best player? How far are you away from actually doing that? It's not that crazy far away. And then here's the other aspect of this for the Jazz. They have the tools with all of their draft capital and young players to make a trade to get that guy without tanking. You could trade this year's pick and just say, hey, if it goes top 8, it's yours. If it's outside of 8, it's not, but we will pay it off down the line. And you have the unprotected Phoenix Suns pick, and you have the Lakers pick next season, and you own all of your own picks. You could put those together and go out and try and get a guy who you think is a legit number 1. Now, it's probably not good enough to get you Giannis, but it might be good enough to get you somebody else who you think is closer to being one of those number 1 players the next time they become available. And Keyonte slides to number 2, and Lowry slides to number 3, or whatever. Those are your 2A and 2B guys, and you have a number 1. Are you good enough at that point? And then it's just about signing veterans around them to kind of fill out the roster. Like, we've talked about how do you get out of the rebuild.
Yeah.
And I, in some conversations I had over the offseason, one of the things that I was told was that they were waiting for one of the young guys to break out. They were waiting to see who was going to break out. And Keyonte's broken out. It's like, this is what they were waiting for. They wanted to see this happen before I think they felt comfortable making their next move. And now I think you've got a 20-game. I mean, it's 20 games. It's not 70. You'd feel better if it's 70. You're never afforded 70. The league moves too quick. When do you pivot? How do you pivot? What does that have to look like? I don't think the Jazz are done collecting their draft pick this year. I still think the Jazz are going to get their draft pick this year. And actually, if you've been following that, and some Jazz fans have probably been panicking, You look around the rest of the NBA, all these other teams right around the Jazz are also winning.
Yeah.
Suddenly. The Wizards are winning. The Pelicans are winning. The Pacers have won a lot more games recently. They just lost to the Wizards. Charlotte just beat Cleveland last night. Like, all these teams around the Jazz are still keeping it very easy to keep your pick if you decide that's the move you want to make.
In that same vein, I want to go back and ask you a similar question to what the Jazz might do this offseason, right? If the Jazz, because now you have Ace Bailey, you have Keyonte George, who, if the Jazz are winning games, is like playing at an all-star level. You have Larry Markkinen, who is also, especially in this new format, an all-star. And then Ace Bailey, who projects to at least be a very high-level role player, at the least it's looking like.
Yeah. And may still be a number one player.
Yeah, exactly.
His flashes looks like a number one player still, I think.
But if the Jazz just surround that core, and Walker Kessler, of course, with like guys like Jaden McDaniels, who might be a little bit too high level for this, but Alex Caruso, those high level defensive minded role players. Because I think if you ask even non-Jazz fans what the Jazz's biggest problem is, it's defense. Like, they can't defend anything.
Yeah.
If the Jazz are a better defensive team, all of a sudden, okay, you have the offense, you have the closers, you have all these pieces. Are you a top 8 team in the West? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So,
and again, to go back to the Nurk conversation of ruling out who you can build around, the Kings didn't think they could build around Tyrese Halliburton. Mm-hmm. Now, don't look at the Kings as the model franchise of knowing what they have when it's sitting in their lap. Clearly, that's not the case. But I don't know if the Pacers thought they were trading for Tyrese Halliburton, getting the number one piece on a team that was going to go to Game 7 of the finals.
Yeah,
you do have to be open for guys evolve and get better and change, and that not all developmental trajectories work the same. Mm-hmm. So a term I coined before our podcast tonight is tank derangement syndrome, which I have stolen from something else in our society, very thinly veiled. Is this fear of anything but tanking is the wrong direction? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or this thought that there couldn't be positive results to come out of anything but tanking.
Yeah.
I do think you need to be careful with that. And I get it. You've been conditioned for 3 years now by the Jazz to want to tank, to say that's the pathway out. Well, one of those resulted in Keyonte George. And you've got Lowry, you've got 2 of maybe your top 3 pieces. And what if Ace does turn into that guy? Or what if Keyonte gets better? Again, 3 years into his career, I'm not sure we knew Shea was going to be an MVP, much less likely, steamrolling towards back-to-back MVPs and being the best player on what's looking like probably the greatest team of all time, even though they just lost in the NBA Cup. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm not sure in today's league you can rule out trajectories of guys. I do find myself thinking why can't Keyonte get a lot better?
Yeah.
A lot better. Why can't he average 30 at some point? He's only taken 17 shots a game, and I know that seems like a lot, but Donovan Mitchell averaged 20 shots a game his whole career.
Yeah.
So give Keyonte 3 more shots a game, and now the wisdom of what it means to play this position. He's been all over the floor early in his career. So what is this guy? I don't know. And I think that's actually, I hope Jazz fans are enjoying that.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the payoff. This is the fun part of it. And I know you're still worried about the tanking aspect of it and where that's going to go, but some of this should be the enjoyment of you've been waiting for this guy. And by the way, I remember his first summer league games, they were did the Jazz find Donovan Mitchell right away? Right after he left? He came right in a year later and is this good immediately? And then there were the ups and downs and the really high highs and the extremely low lows. And now he's basically gotten rid of the lows. Yeah. And when he has a low, he answers it with an even higher high as he did over the weekend. So I don't know, to put a pin in that conversation, he just might be a lot closer to Donovan Mitchell than he is the guy that we saw the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And the Jazz and their front office is going to have to figure out who he is and how much to develop him and bet on him, because you do have to strike while the iron's hot.
Yes.
And if you wait too long, you can miss out on some of these things. And I don't envy that job. And I don't know what to make of it yet either. I do think this is more authentic to who Keyonte is going to be than what we saw the first 2 seasons personally.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, and again, it's only 20 games, so it's hard to say this is safe to say, but I think what we're seeing from Keyonte right now is potentially what his floor will be over the next 5+ seasons.
I think that's very possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible. And then, once the expectations rise and teams are getting ready for you, do you get better? Mm-hmm. Why not? Man, the numbers are really good.
Yeah.
He's playing really good basketball. It's not on a team that's designed to win a whole lot, and they're not winning a whole lot as a result, but when they get designed to win a whole lot, which is not going to be that hard to do, I don't think it's that hard to get from where the Jazz are now to, that 6th, 7th, 8th spot in the West. I think the Jazz are going to get there before terribly long, and Keyonte playing as well as he did is a big part of it. All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will get your mailbag questions. Stick around. More Jazz Notes coming up next. Welcome back to the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben Anderson, Chandler Holt. All right, one of the things we neglected to do, my fault, in the last segment was kind of talk about the week that's coming up. Jazz host the Mavericks tonight. We touched on that a little bit. It's a tougher game than fans probably recognize. Mavericks have been playing much better lately.
Yeah, 5 of the last 6 are wins.
And Cooper Flag's playing awesome. And it helps to have Anthony Davis.
Yes.
Who's at his best, still one of the 10 best players in the league. I firmly believe that. He's just never on the floor. And then after that, against the Lakers on Thursday.
Yes.
And then who are they playing Saturday?
Saturday is the Orlando Magic. All 3 are home games.
Okay. Some winnable games just because they're at home.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the Jazz are playing, I'm probably not comfortable saying they're going to go winless.
I would say 1-2, and I'm most comfortable with a win coming tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Then again, the Magic, every time I watch the Magic, I want them to play better than they're not. And Franz Wagner's hurt.
True.
So that could be a win. I mean, there's a pathway to 2-1. Mm-hmm. There certainly is a pathway to 2-1. I'd be surprised if they went 3-0. 1-3 is probably what Jazz fans want to see who have the tank derangement syndrome I've talked about. But yeah, 1-2. Sorry, not 1-3. You can't go 1-3 in a 3-game stretch. 1-2.
Something interesting though that I thought to talk about really quick for the Orlando game, Paolo Banchero isn't having the best game, but I just like thinking about who he is as a player. It's like, what's stopping him from dropping 40 points on the Jazz? You know what I mean? Like, who guards that type of player on the Jazz? Like Taylor Hendricks fully healthy would be a good matchup, I feel like.
But that's not what's going on.
Yeah.
And look, I told you kind of last week, it caught my eye that the Jazz rested Yusuf Nurkic, and he had a rib injury, but they rested him and Kevin Love against Brooklyn in Brooklyn. Like that raised my antenna a little bit. And I don't know how sick Lowry was. I wasn't in Memphis. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but like he didn't play the next game against OKC when OKC was sitting everybody, and now Nurk's just resting for rest's sake. Like, what do you mean? It's December.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know what you mean. Like, we might be getting to that point where the Jazz are starting to not try to win every game possible.
Yeah.
And look, not playing Nurk is a huge loss. Nurk is a good player.
Yes.
He's strange. Sometimes he may wear both jerseys. Like there are games when he has 5 turnovers and doesn't play particularly well.
Yeah.
There are also games when he is the absolute hub of the team, and like his screen setting opens up everything for the entire offense. I mean, Ace Bailey loves Yusuf Nurkic, and he's never said it to me, but like watch him come off screens. That automatic elbow jumper that he hits every single time he shoots it is purely because Yusuf Nurkic creates a force field that's 15 feet wide that nobody can get around. That creates really easy shots for him. So not having Nurk will be a detriment to the Jazz tonight and a help for the fans wanting to see the team lose.
I think a lot of fans don't realize just how much of an impact both Svi and Nurk have on wins, but just every game.
Yeah, and look, some fans may recognize it and say that's a bad thing because those are guys who may not be 10-year players on the roster. Now, no one's going to be a 10-year player on the roster. That's not how the NBA works anymore. But yeah, I understand that argument. Yeah. So,
all right, over to the mailbag.
Yeah, I actually got some on Blue Sky. So let me start there. I don't think I got any DMs today, but let's start. We got quite a few. We got 3 on Blue Sky, which is more than usual. We'll start with Sammy Paradise. Seems like there are a lot of teams in the NBA tanking right now, including the Jazz. Could you see Danny Ainge making a trade to try and add talent this season because of the value? If so, can you think of any underappreciated players the Jazz might try and target? I've mentioned guys like Ben Mathurin. I've even wondered about a guy like Cam Thomas. Now, look, that's just like, you're talking about guys who aren't under contract beyond next season, are going to be restricted free agents this offseason. So would the teams that have them say, we know we're not going to re-sign them, and the Jazz say, well, let's just get in on it early, and these guys signed qualifying offers, so, or no, they're going to be restricted free agents next year, just like Walker Kessler's going to be in the same draft class. So, do you find yourself in that situation where you just say, hey, we want to be in on you early, so we're going to go and trade and acquire you because we think actually you're just on a miscast in your role. Yeah. And Indiana's like a very specific team. They play a very specific way. So like if you could get Ben Mathurin, you think he can be one of your 3 best players or something, and you feel like you're getting him on the cheap, well, maybe that makes sense. Maybe that's interesting. There are certainly names out there like that I could see being available.
I struggle to see a world where the Jazz are buying this year.
I think right now the fact that, what are they, 8-16? 8-15 on the season right now?
Yes. 8-15.
8-15. Like, again, you've almost got twice as many losses as you have.
9-15.
9-15 because they won the game.
Yeah.
I still think it's more likely that they trade Kevin Love to a team that's like, man, he just scored 20 off the bench. Like, we could use that for 5 minutes in the playoffs. Like, he can still come in and hit 3 threes and grab 2 big rebounds and create an outlet opportunity. Like, that wins you a game in the playoffs. I still think it's more likely the Jazz make a trade in that vein.
Agreed.
And lose a guy or 2. Or look, man, like I thought Nurk was going to be pretty untradeable before the season because he makes $19 million. Well, it's $19 million coming off your book if you want to lose somebody, and you're willing to give up something the Jazz want, whether that's a young player or draft capital or something, and the Jazz don't feel like Nurk's going to be maybe even there. Like, here's the hard part. Like, if you're going to pay Walker this offseason, which we don't know, we expect it. It's kind of what I've been told, but anything can change. Like, how much are you going to pay Nurk? Nurk may want $15 million. You're not going to pay your backup center $15 million who's going to play 15 minutes a night. So maybe you can find a way to get some value out of Nurk for a team that says, hey, man, we would love a guy who sets screens like that and is a hub and then comes off the book and we just happen to have the ability to make a deal. Yeah. So I still think that's probably more likely. And honestly, look, if the Jazz do want to go in the tank, trading Nurk's a great way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden you're going to Kyle Filipowski as your starting center, which is Kyle's fine, but you're just losing so much of what is making your team run right now. So I still think that's out there. And so, I wouldn't rule it out, but I think it would have to be like an obvious win for the Jazz. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to sacrifice it. And then the one thing I'd correct Semi-Paradise is it is Austin who's making these decisions now and not Danny Ainge. Yeah. It is absolutely Austin's team. Next on Blue Sky, multi-part question here. Is the leap Keyonte made this year typical, or does it feel like an outlier? If so, how sustainable it is? I don't think it's that much of an outlier.
No.
In all honesty.
No.
And again, not to pat us on the back, but like after Keontae's rookie season, we said like there's a real world where Keyonte averages 20 next year. And what is he at 18 last season? Like he didn't quite get there. It's like if you watch Keyonte, you know this type of player was in there. Yeah. It's just could he harness it?
Yep.
So that's why I'm maybe a little bit more of a believer in him versus some of these guys. And I'm even going to struggle to find somebody who, like, every once in a while a player will break out, right? And be like, what? They averaged 19 points a game last season? Like, that's not a good player. And it's more about the context of where they're in. And look, context matters for all these players. But we have seen guys have huge breakouts, cash in, and then they go somewhere and they're terrible. Bruce Brown.
Yes.
With the Nuggets. And even KCP, right? KCP had been a good player, and he won a championship with the Lakers, and then he won a championship with Denver, and everyone's like, oh, this is a winner. And he goes to Orlando, and he stinks.
Sucks.
And he goes to Memphis, and he's awful. He's awful again on Friday night. Yep. It's like, oh, yeah, this guy needs X, Y, and Z above him to make him a good player.
Yep.
And then when he's in the wrong spot, he looks really bad. I'm not sure that's what's happening with Keyonte.
No.
Because what's making him better, other than he's getting some opportunity, but like, he's playing well in the opportunity. It's not that somebody else is just setting him up.
Yeah, and also there are things about Keyonte's jump that is solely, like you can look and be like, oh, this is solely Keyonte. It is not an outside factor. For example, he jumped from the bottom third to the top half of the NBA in both effective field goal percentage and 2-point field goal percentage.
Yeah.
Like that is a Keyonte thing.
Yeah.
That's not he has this around him thing.
And the other part of it, I would say, which is not the intangible part of it, but kind of is that like the mental aspect of it is so much stronger than it was in the last 2 years. Like the attention that he has is so obvious, and I get why fans can't see it. You're not in the locker room, but I see it when I see him. You just sense a maturity there. Another part from Nice Joe Green. Other than knocking down shots more efficiently, what else should we hope he adds to his game, and what would make him an all-star? What would make him an all-star is the Jazz winning.
Yes.
It's plain and simple. Like, you average 23 and 6, and your team's 23 and 18 at the all-star break, you're going to the all-star game. Yeah. Like you're at least in that conversation. So that's where he gets there. Defensively, he needs to continue to get better.
Yes.
And he's much better today than he was a year ago at this point.
Yeah, like the effort is just so much more you can see. And he has more defensive IQ.
Some of it's just wisdom.
Yeah.
Some of it's just the wisdom of I'm in these situations and now I've dealt with this enough in the fourth quarter that like I know where I can draw a foul. I know where I can't draw a foul. I know what shots I can get to. I know where to get my teammates involved. But man, like the lob he throws to Ace is just so not a play he knew how to make 2 years ago, really, and then probably even last year. I mean, great back cut from Ace. Like Ace realized defender turned his head. What's your job? Go to the basket. Keyonte throws an absolute dime. Ace finishes it brilliantly. But like those are growth, and that is purely an experience.
Yes.
Keyonte didn't learn how to throw the ball. Like, he's been making really good passes since early in his career, like fancy passes. But knowing when to make them. And, man, I was thinking, like, if he was playing next to Walker, he'd look even better. He probably enjoys the space and he can get to the rim without there being a big man there, which helps him. But, like, man, imagine giving Keyonte, like, a really good roller off of a screen. Like, you get great screens from Nurk. You don't get any rolling, So if you could get a good roller and Keyonte was just throwing these easy lobs over and over, like, his assist numbers would go up 1 or 2 a game, which is now all of a sudden he's 23 and 8. And that's a definite all-star number. So I think some of it is just experience. And then, get better on defense. Keep getting better on defense. And that's doable.
Yeah, and I will say the one thing is not nearly as important as defense, and like I mentioned, it's better this year a bit based on his usage, but even though his usage is higher, he's 3.5 turnovers a game right now. So if he could bring that back down to like 2.5, 2.7, where it was the last 2 years with his usage staying the same, then it's like, okay, now you have a, 2+ turnover, assist to turnover ratio?
Yeah.
So,
and he'll get there.
Yeah.
Mark Daniel, can the Jazz let Lowry, Keyonte, and others continue to improve while also successfully competing in the tank race? What does that look like? Yeah, it's resting Nurk a lot.
Yeah.
You're robbing yourself of one too many rotation players.
Yes.
You're entering the game without a true center. And that's going to lose you games.
Yeah.
That's probably as simple as it is. And it's almost unfair to do because Nurk is in a contract year and having fun, which might be why you try and trade him. Just to be like, hey, man, you deserve to get another contract. And us not playing you is not really healthy for you. But they could look to trade Nurk. I don't know if they'll be able to. They may not. Yeah. But I think it's what they're doing tonight, not playing Nurk. I think that's what that looks like.
At some point this year, probably when there's a bigger sample size, I'd be interesting to look at Jazz record and like rebounding numbers and plus minus with Nurk out for a game and playing a game.
And look, Keontae's played every game so far.
Yeah.
Like Keontae's not going to play every game this season.
Yeah.
He'll miss 15 games before the end of the year. Like Jazz are going to lose most of those. He's a really good player now. So that's how you can do it. You can still rest some guys as need be, and he's going to turn an ankle, and you're going to be very, cautious in your approach to bringing it back. All right, over to Twitter.
Okay. First question from Jimbo Slice asks, are rookies given training on how to manage their new money, and do they get paid twice a month like a normal company?
You go through a rookie symposium, and everything's involved. Like, these are the leeches that are coming after you in all shapes and sizes, and this is what their cell looks like, and this is what they're trying to offer you. And by the way, look how dangerous this is. And I've heard of it talking to NFL players about some of the crazy things, and I wouldn't repeat it here, but like truly insane things. Yeah. Like they set you up in situations of like, look at all these people that are around you, they're good. Oh, by the way, this person is this, and this person is this, and this person is this. And if you said yes to any one of those people, this is what your life would look like now. Like they honestly kind of like set you up in situations. And I don't know if the NBA does it, but I've heard the NFL does it. But yeah, they absolutely try and get you to go through like, look at all these horror stories, look at the Lamar Odoms of the world, look at the Allen Iversons of the world. Like they had more money than you'll ever make, and they're broke. Yeah. So here's some options on how to save your money.
And they do get paid twice a month. However, there is a bunch of clauses and options that you can do. One of them is you get paid 24 checks. So you get 2 checks a month for the entire year. But then I think it's also 12 checks. So 6 months or during the NBA season is when you get paid. So it's bigger checks during the season. But also, like for Kobe Bryant, for example, when he had his massive contract, so it was like, oh, like give me this much up front and then spread the rest out. Like there's a lot of different stuff you can do, but it is twice a month.
Yeah, it's kind of the standard. But yes, if you want to do game checks or whatever, I've heard of that. I'm not sure if that's a standard anymore, but I've heard guys have gotten paid after games.
Yeah.
So some guys liked playing back-to-backs because I'd heard they're like, well, I get 2 checks.
Yeah.
Okay. You also get a per diem. And like, it doesn't sound like a lot because of guys making $15 million a year, but it's like $150 a day. Well, you understand how much they're on the road. And look, some of it doesn't make it off the plane from them because it ends up in somebody else's pocket because of whatever they're doing on the plane. But like, that adds up. You're in a hotel. You're fed. You're fed before every game. Like, maybe people don't know this either, and you've seen it now. Like, you go to the opposing locker room, and there's a huge buffet outside the door. And it's, it's usually like very high protein meals, and it's healthy options, and guys have their things. But like, you're fed you're fed on the plane, and then you're fed when you get off the plane, and you're fed at the game. It's like, what do you have a per diem for? Yeah. That's what the per diem is for. So like, there are guys who the only money they spend throughout their careers is their per diem. They save their per diem, or they use their per diem and they save all their paychecks. It's like, good for them. $156 a day after day after day when you go on these 12-day road trips. It's like, and everything's paid for you, and it's not like you're paying for your hotel. Yeah. it's pretty easy to save up money. Yeah. So I know some guys are able to do that as well. So there's just a lot of money being thrown at them. Now, a lot of it comes out in taxes, et cetera, but yeah, you get a lot of money.
Next up from Braden says, if the Jazz own their pick, but it's 6 to 8, is there a scenario where they attempt to trade up, and what kind of assets would that require? I attempt to trade up is the phrasing. They absolutely would attempt if they fall there. But it's like, if you're...
Yeah, you call.
Yeah. It's like, if you're top 4 in the draft and 6 to 8's calling you, like, unless you're offering Keyonte, like, we have a chance at Caleb Wilson at the worst.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they would...
I'm trying to think of the situation. Like, my hypothetical, I guess, would be here. I'm spitballing here, so this could be totally insane. But, like, let's say the Thunder end up with the 3rd pick, and A.J. DeBonsa goes 1 and Cam Boozer goes 2. And they say, love Darren Peterson, but we have Shea, and we've got Case and Wallace. Like, what if we like Caleb Wilson? and the Jazz are sitting at 5. And everyone knows by this point, Nate Ament or Pete or whatever, someone else is going to go 4. It's probably going to be Caleb Wilson, but let's say he's not.
Yeah.
He's going to fall to 5 where the Jazz are sitting. And the Jazz want to get up to 3 to get Darren Peterson. Like, if you offered 5 and the Suns' unprotected future first-round pick for the Thunder to get the guy they want at 5, and you move up to get to 3, like, the reason the Thunder keep winning titles is because they have all these unprotected future first-round picks, and now they've got it by just moving 2 spots, still getting the guy they want, and getting another unprotected pick, which could be a top 5 pick again 5 years from now. Like, they might listen.
That's like an Ainge Jason Tatum situation.
Yeah, they might listen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think it's possible. But, yeah, you're talking about that Suns pick, and you're talking about maybe the Lakers pick. And, and your own 5th overall pick. Like, yeah, it's going to cost you. But I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think you're moving up from 8 to 3. I think that's probably too big of a jump. But you might be able to go 5 to 3 or 4 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Teams do that all the time.
Another one from Braden. When Georges Niang comes back, how does he fit into the rotation? Will it be similar to Kyle Anderson and be used when needed or more regular time?
He'll get on the floor, but yeah, as needed. And they'll bring him along very slowly. He's coming back from a foot injury. And yeah, I'm sure they would love to see that he can play and then try and trade him before the deadline if like a contender wanted him and the Jazz could get something. Same with Kevin Love.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Jazz would do that. But it's not like he's been a distraction. And look, George is talking to players every time they come off the floor. Like he's pulling guys aside. He's talking to Ace. He's talking to Keyonte. He's coaching guys up. I'm sure that's really nice to have.
Next up from Just Jazz Basketball. What are your thoughts on building around Nurk? After this weekend, I'm strongly considering it.
No. You know what's funny about the Nurk thing is like Nurk defending his teammates, like the reputation he had leaving Phoenix was that nobody liked him.
Yeah.
Like that the Golden State Warriors didn't like him and the Phoenix Suns didn't like him. Like, and I don't know how accurate that is. Honestly, I haven't like talked to Phoenix people, but that was kind of the reports going around was that he was not well beloved by his teammates. And I don't know if he ever fit in Charlotte or had the opportunity, but he's playing great right now and everyone seems to like him. Now, what's funny about Nurk is, at least when we see him, and I will tell you, the difference between when the media walks in the room and before can be night and day.
Yes.
But, like, he is super quiet. He's usually got his back turned. Like, he'll talk a little bit if we go over to him, but, like, he's not yelling across the locker room. Like, he's pretty contained. He's a pretty quiet guy. So, you know, I don't know if that actually matters all that much, but, like, based on the tweet, you may think he's, like, outgoing or loud or obnoxious. And, like,
yeah.
And, or you may just, like, see his kind of personality on the floor. That's not what you get in the locker room. He's really like usually pretty quiet. He's pretty inward. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I will say for the Jazz, for the Nurkic situation, I see both sides of it. Like these guys are people. Like they're not just entertainment figures. They are human beings.
Yep.
So it's like don't be surprised when they respond to when you're talking about them or their teammates or someone else they're close about. But also from the other point of view, like probably don't attack someone's looks.
Yeah, of course not. No, and I wouldn't do it. And I don't attack people's looks online for the most part. I have one time, but don't need to go back to that. And I felt defensive.
That's going to be a mailbag question next week.
Yeah, what would you do? I won't say, so don't ask. But yeah, it's Nurk would be the best backup center in the NBA. Like he's in that conversation. He's one of those players that would be really good. And if you could pay him $6 million a year to be your backup, that's great. He might be playing himself into too good of a contract next year for him to be on the Jazz's radar.
Next question from Eddie Broshkinski asks, how often I think, but what really is Key's future outlook? This may just be an unwillingness to forget the prior years, but afraid of paying near max for what turns out to be a high-level six-man, but is having a really good year because someone needs the ball in their hands.
You know, they didn't pay Walker this summer. I would be surprised if they paid Keyonte.
Yeah.
So I think by the time push comes to shove, and Keyonte may be unhappy if he doesn't get paid, understandable, but the Jazz may just be laying this out, that this is how they're going to approach it going forward. Ideally, if when you are deciding to pay him, which the Jazz don't have to until 2027, you will have 4 years of context, and 2 years if he's playing at this level to feel very comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
And the last 2 years being, certainly the most accurate data you're going to get. As the guys grow, they should get better. And if he's growing over 2 years, you should be happy to pay him in the summer of 2027. But you don't have to pay him this year.
Yes.
He'll be a restricted free agent next year, or 26, 27. He'll be restricted in that season. And I kind of would guess that's what the Jazz are going to do. I'm not sure the motivation to pay him too early, Yeah. And look, Keyonte might make an all-star team. Like, there are benefits for Keyonte too. Keep getting more money. Because I don't think the Jazz are going to offer him a max this summer. There's no reason to do that. And he's not proven he's a max player. So the Jazz wouldn't do that. But I don't think the Jazz would rule out in 2027 if he continues to play at an all-star clip and the Jazz go out and get better and now he's playing that well on a winning team.
Another question from Eddie. He asked, second, I don't think I'm watching close enough to see this, but how often are the Jazz playing Ace without Lowry or Key on the floor? I know Ace can't create well yet, but would love for him to get some reps as the first option with the second unit. I pulled up these stats just to get like a definitive mark for it. There have been about 50, maybe 60 possessions this year without Ace on the floor and out the other two. Okay. But most of the time he's on the floor with either Keyonte
because
or
generally one of those guys is on the floor.
Yes.
The Jazz
exactly.
are having long stretches where one of those guys isn't running the offense.
Yeah. The biggest,
carrying the offense.
If I'm not mistaken here, the lineup with the most looks without either of those two and Ace is Walt Clayton, Svi, Ace, Filipowski, and Nurk, and it's just 30 possessions.
Okay.
So
generally, that might be something that's repeated.
Yeah.
That might be like one that like you catch for a couple minutes in the second quarter or like the end of the first when Ace checks back in. But also like the times I feel like we have seen it is like late against the Timberwolves when the Jazz are down by 30.
Yeah.
And Ace plays and Walt Clayton's playing. Like Walt being on the floor is telling there because generally he has only played in the fourth quarters of games when the Jazz are getting blown out. Nurk being out there is a little surprising, but the Jazz don't really have a young backup center other than Flip. So I think a lot of times it's just been these kind of garbage minutes that he's played. And he's had some moments. Like, again, that Minnesota game, he hits the step back. He has the dunk on Anthony Edwards. Like, there are some moments where he's done it, but you also got to put guys around him. You know what I mean? Like, just dropping him out there and expecting to be a number one day one is really difficult to do. Honestly, the truth is the Jazz haven't given him that many opportunities. And what Will Hardy has talked about is putting him more in the pick and roll as the initiator. And that can be with starters. That can be with a Lowry or whatever, making some of those decisions. So, but yeah, we just haven't seen a ton of it yet, is the truth.
Next up from Tim Hazard, Jonathan Isaac as a redemption talent trade target for Jazz. His value is currently low. Magic need to save salary next year and need shooting. And he suggests Anderson, who is expiring, plus Bryce or Svi. Isaac becomes defensive backup Swiss Army knife for the Jazz next year when they're trying to win.
It's kind of interesting. He doesn't play a whole lot. He played 71 games last year, which was a big plus, and he's up at 23, so he's played most of their games this season. He has been borderline unplayable this year.
Yes.
For whatever reason, his efficacy has dropped entirely, and his money comes down. He makes $25 million. He made $25 last year. He does have a long deal, so after this year, he's got $45 million left on his. He signed a 4-year, $70 million deal. This is the first year of it, and it actually kind of decreases, but he's averaging about $15 million a year over the next 3 years. It's a pretty big gamble, to be honest with you. If he's unplayable, $15 million is hard to get off of a year for 3 straight years if he can't play.
It's kind of interesting. I think of both Jonathan Isaac and Matisse Thybulle, of guys who started as defensive-minded role players, and now they're sort of just like, for whatever reason, they can't really play anymore.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Matisse Thybulle hardly plays.
Yeah.
He's kind of in and out of the lineup a lot. I don't think it's crazy, but he's only playing 10 minutes a night right now, like for a team that needs him. For a team that like Orlando has been underwhelming this year. One of the reasons they've been underwhelming is because he has stepped backwards. Like, and man, you look at him over his last 4 seasons, his minutes played is crazy. Like the fact that anyone knows who Jonathan Isaac is crazy, other than he was a high lottery pick and expected to be, and like has some crazy defensive highlights. He played 4 years ago, he played 11 minutes a game. 3 years ago, he played 15 minutes a game. 2 years ago, he played 15 minutes a game. This year, he's playing 10 minutes a game. Like, how many players in the league do we know that averaged less than 13 minutes a game over the last 4 seasons? Like, most fans don't know who that is. So it's a testament to him that he is effective when he's on the floor, but also a sign that, like, even on the teams that have been happy to pay him, he's making $25 million last season. He's playing 15 minutes. You can't pay a guy $25 million who only plays 15 minutes a night. That's crazy. So I would like it more if he was at the end of his contract and not doesn't have 3 years left after this.
Next up from Todd Crow, this will be an interesting exercise. Can you guys rank our players top to bottom defensively, taking into account their position, and not throw up in your mouth while you do it? Do we have any average defenders besides probably Svi?
Well, does Walker count?
We can just put Walker as like 0th place. Like he would be at the top, but he's not.
Yeah, he's like an average defensive player. Svi's been an average defensive player. Svi's in a weird spot because he always has to play up because he kind of defends guys. Svi's not very big, so he is always guarding guys who are bigger than he is.
Nurk has a positive defensive box plus minus, if that means anything.
He rebounds a lot, and that really helps. He ends possessions. He ends defensive possessions. So, man, beyond that, like Cody moves his feet the best, but gets pushed out of the way and still
Yeah.
gives up like a lot of mid-range jump shots that guys like are just happy to get to their spot and just shoot it over him, and it's not hard to do. Keyonte tries hard and gets some steals. I think that's beneficial. Taylor Hendricks, talking to some people, like, and you can see it, just like doesn't have the pop right now that he had early last season, his first 2 games. Like his just does not quite have the bounce back. There's even things like where like Kyle Anderson knows all the tricks.
Yes.
That helps.
Yeah.
Kevin Love is also always holding up his hand after every defensive possession because he's blowing all these defensive possessions, even though knows a lot of the tricks.
Yeah.
You know, so no, honestly, I'm not sure I could go from top to bottom because like it could be Keyonte one night and it could be Lowry one night and it could be Taylor Hendricks one night. I mean, it's just like Elijah Harkless.
Yeah.
Elijah's a very good defensive player. Jazz don't ever play him.
Yeah.
So no, it's not really a exercise that I think is all that easy to do because Kyle Filipowski had a really good game against Kevin Durant not that long ago defensively and actually had some good defensive possessions, I thought, against Memphis, and then has a terrible quarter.
Yeah.
You know, they're just not that consistent yet. So no, that's got to be the focus for the team.
Yes.
When they go out into free agency. And ideally, if you could draft a guy that's a two-way player, and that's what Ace turns into, you hope, and Taylor turns into, you hope, and Cody turns into, you hope. It's no coincidence those 3 guys were all top 10 picks. Like, that's generally where you get those players.
Yes.
So I hate to dodge the question, but like, I kind of don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
Not because I'm afraid of throwing up in my mouth. It's just like there's just not that many good defensive players, and they're all pretty average or mediocre.
It's like if you did a tier list, a lot of the Jazz players would fall in like D tier defensively. So, next up from Jazz Time Jones asks, your prediction on who gets moved this trade season?
Kevin Love's probably the most obvious. Kevin Love, again, that Memphis game might be enough by himself for somebody to be like, oh, well, that's a guy we should go out and look at.
Yeah.
He's not making crazy money. What is his salary? Let me see if I can pull this up quickly. But yeah, he's not making that much money, and he's very reliable, and he's a great locker room guy. Like, Kevin's kind of fun to have around. He's also not like the most explosive person, but I think he provides some levity, and that would be very helpful, certainly in the playoffs.
I'm looking at the young core right now. I think Bryce Sensabaugh would probably be the most likely to get moved.
Bryce could be interesting
because it's like there's probably an NBA team out there who's like, hey, 40% shooter from 3.
Kevin Love only makes $4 million a year, so that what he can offer at $4 million a year, I don't want to say a lock to get moved, but like would be easy to move.
Yeah.
I just don't know if Cody has any value.
Yeah.
Like, Cody shouldn't have any value right now to other teams. You probably have more to the Jazz. And the fact that the Jazz picked up his rookie option, so he's back next year, probably gives him negative trade value right now. Kyle Anderson could, $9 million, again, kind of a solid player. I don't think they would trade Flip yet, unless it was like the right deal.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. No, I think it's just the veterans again.
Yeah.
Isaiah could be interesting. Isaiah Collier, because if you think Walt's going to move into that spot, and Isaiah, you're still kind of like selling the upside of him, of like the flashes of people. Remember him almost making the all-rookie first team last year, or all-rookie team last year. I could see that if the Jazz felt like they could get a good second-round pick, or swap young players or something like that. I guess I could see that.
Yeah. Next up from Jesse. He says, worst case scenario, the Jazz can pay the 9th pick to OKC. If that happens, do you think they'll still try to pivot to being good next year, or would that prolong the tank an extra season?
No, I think you pivot. I think they pivot regardless.
Yes,
I think this offseason, the reason they didn't sign Walker last year was partly so they could have financial flexibility. I think that financial flexibility is to go out and chase some free agents to fill this roster out and start winning again and make a push. Like, whether that's just the play-in tournament or whether that's hoping to be more than that, I think this is the last year we see this, which is also why I think there's probably an emphasis to get back into the draft.
Yeah.
I think there is probably going to be a push to get there without moving off of a Lowry or moving off of a Keyonte, obviously. Yeah. But knowing it's not going to take that much else to probably fall back. Again, can we do this really quick? Can we look at the NBA standings?
Yeah.
We haven't done this. And I do not want the podcast right now to necessarily devolve into like the tanking rankings, because we did that a lot last year, and it is painful. And I don't think it's the most interesting radio specifically or podcasting specifically. But the Jazz currently have the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th worst record in the NBA. So like, if everything held, the Jazz would own their lottery, their draft pick.
Yeah.
Right? Am I counting that right?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Jazz would have their pick, have like a 40% chance of losing it in the lottery. So it's high. It's a coin toss. But just to give you a sense, they're 3 games better than the next 6 teams.
Yeah.
Like, they're 3 wins.
Yeah.
So New Orleans is sitting at 5. New Orleans is all of a sudden starting to piece it together. They've won 2 straight. Like, Derek Queen's playing awesome. Jeremiah Fears is getting better. Zion, I think, did he come back yesterday? If not, he's coming back.
Yeah.
They're just starting to get their roster back. Like, they could easily pass the Jazz. And then Charlotte's one game behind the Jazz, just beat Cleveland on the road. Brooklyn's weirdly starting to win games. They're 4-6 over their. All these teams are 4-6 over their last 10. The Jazz, the Hornets, the Nets, and the Pacers. Brooklyn, or we just talked about Brooklyn. The Clippers are still sitting at 6-19. I still don't believe they're not going to put it together at some point. And that doesn't mean win a lot, but win more than the Jazz. Between now and the end of the season, I do think the Clippers should win 3 more games than the Jazz.
Yes.
And then Sacramento's also sitting at 6-20 as well, and has no reason to be really tanking unless they just want to hold on to their pick, which is possible.
Yeah.
But again, man, the Jazz are. I think there's this fear that the Jazz are like eclipsing other teams. Like, they are really within arm's reach of all these other teams. You know, they are 4 games ahead of the 3rd worst record in the NBA. 4 games total. Like, that's not that hard to make up over the final 5 months of the season.
And here's the other thing that I think is kind of getting forgotten right now is there are cold stretches, not just for players, but for teams.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, let's just say to start the new year, the Jazz play, 9 of 11 games on the road. If they go 2-9 in that stretch, then it's like, okay, you're probably a bottom 5 team in the NBA now.
Yeah. And the Jazz, you know, for a while they had the toughest strength of schedule remaining. That's not the case anymore. They're right in the middle of the pack. They're about 12th in the NBA of strength of schedule remaining. So if you want to look at it in a kind of a glass half full perspective, if you want the team to tank, you say, well, yeah, they've got to play the Thunder twice. They've got to play the Pistons once. They've got to play the Nuggets 4 times. They've still got to play the Rockets and the Knicks and the Lakers, et cetera, et cetera. But also on the flip side of that, it's like you do play the Wizards, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Pacers, the Clippers, the Nets. Let me see, 2, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11 more times. Like, okay, so lose half of those. Those teams get a win, you get a loss, and they jump you. Like, you still can control some of this if you desire to.
Oh, Nurkic needs to rest both the Clippers games.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Nurkic isn't playing anymore.
Yeah.
Nurkic isn't on the roster anymore. Like, there are ways, if the Jazz are serious about this, to get there without, I think, it taking all that much work.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is like, it's 20 games into the year. It's not 70 games into the year. This is what it looks like. You know,
and if there's 70 games of the year and they need to lose 11 in a row, I think they'll probably figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
All right, next question from Alex Atwood. How do you feel about podcasts saying that Ace Bailey isn't a star? Why do you think they say that? And what is the flip side of him being a star? What are his tools?
Shot maker. Excellent rebounder. Underrated playmaker. He's going to be a good defensive player. I think we're already seeing like his ability to get like pokeaways and steals and be disruptive on that end. So like, if he's not a star, like you've got a very high level role player who's I think a 2-way player and a big time shot maker, a la Jaden McDaniels, who we've talked about. Like, man, Jaden McDaniels is like one of the best role players in the NBA. I do think that's probably in the cards for Ace if he doesn't become a star outright. And again, I do think what's maybe missed there, and go back to Jaden McDaniels' college numbers. And I liked him a lot coming out of Washington, but he doesn't have kind of the number one guy mentality. And Ace has always had the number one guy mentality. Yeah. Ace has been the best player on his team everywhere he's gone. And you can say Dylan Harper was better last year, but like Dylan Harper was out for long stretches, so Ace had to be the number one guy in those situations. So I do think Ace has kind of maybe some more natural star persona and mindset than a very good player in Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, if Ace turns into Jaden McDaniels, I think you're in good shape.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a win. It's not the superstar you hoped you were going to get, but I don't think that's a bad outcome, especially when you look at, like, other guys just fail. Other guys fall out of the league.
Either I'm an extreme optimist, or I think that those people are just, like, looking at the box score and being like, oh, 10 points on 44%. Like, that's not what a great rookie season is. That's not a star. But it's like you watch these games and it's like, if you watched him at Rutgers and you watched the first 20 games of his career, at Rutgers you saw him be like can score literally any way you could ask for. And then now in the NBA, he's like, oh, he's rebounding. He's trying on defense. He's like doing things like you said, like, oh, he sees the defender, turns his head, and he back cuts to get a lob.
Yep.
Like, he's doing all these little things, and it's like, okay, the Rutgers stuff was less than a year ago. So it's like, I don't know. I think that he has the tools and he's shown that he can do the scoring. So it's like, once he puts both of those two together, then it's like, okay, now you have a star.
And he's also on a relative, I don't want to say short leash, but he's just filling a kind of specific role.
Yeah.
Like, man, you can go back and watch the Memphis game. Watch a game tonight. Like, he'll go 5 possessions in a row without touching the ball. Like, That's not happening with Cooper Flagg. It's not happening with Con Knippel right now.
Yeah, even Jeremiah Fears.
Yeah, like these guys touch the ball a lot. He's just not there, and some of that's because he was the rawest player in the top 5 getting drafted. Like he was the rawest player. That is certainly the case. I actually think he's, in my opinion, he's ahead of where I thought he would be as far as like a comfort in the NBA. I thought maybe there would be more just like random 25-point games. I also thought there was going to be a lot of 2-point games, like we talked about, 1 of 10 shooting. And he's found a way to avoid those. So his trajectory is a little different than I thought. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would be surprised that he was shooting 35% from 3 already. It's like, no, I think he's a knockdown 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Like when it goes up, I generally think it goes in, and he's just going to get better at knowing which shots are going to go in. And I'm not going to dismiss, like, what was it, a week ago Monday they played the Phoenix Suns? Like he's hitting threes over Kevin Durant in the fourth quarter, and Kevin Durant's like shaking his head like, I can't believe he hit that shot on me, like. Yeah, I still think that's very much there.
Yes.
The Jazz just haven't turned it over to him entirely. And I wonder if Ace had been drafted 2 years ago by the Jazz or last year by the Jazz when they were so tank heavy and playing the young guys so much, if we would be talking about him differently. But right now he's just playing on a team that has a guy in Keyonte who's breaking out and the Jazz are nurturing it, and a guy in Lowry who's playing at an all-star level and the Jazz aren't taking it away from him.
Second to last question from Jacob, who asks, how active do you expect the Jazz to be this deadline? Do you think they'd buy low on someone like Zion, being able to rest him and keep our pick this year, and then see how he is next year with us trying to be competitive?
I don't see the Zion thing. Zion's had just another disaster year.
Yeah.
Like I just think you have to let that ship sail.
Yes.
I just don't think that's coming around.
Zion and like borderline like Kawhi Leonard, like if you want Kawhi Leonard to be your number 1 option, and like maybe even Ja Morant is entering this discussion, I think those are just players that you don't want your favorite team to trade for.
No, I get it. I get why it's interesting. I get that, like, there are some, when he's on, he's on. He also plays 30 games a year. It's like, you're going to pay that guy? Like, you just might as well flush a roster spot. You might as well tie one hand behind your back and say, well, maybe this will be good for you. It's like, why would that ever be the case?
Yeah.
No, I would. Could you get a guy like Quentin Grimes?
Yeah.
You say is like, you know what, that's going to be the perfect 2 guard next to Keyonte at this point, who doesn't need a ton of shots, but certainly wants to get paid and is 25 years old and kind of splits the gap between the 22-year-olds and the 28-year-old on the team. Like, is that the type of player you could go out? That's more along the lines of where I'd be interested. And because now, as well as Quentin Grimes has played for the 76ers and averaging 16, 4, and 4, like, obviously the 76ers future is Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jared McCain.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't have room to pay Quentin Grimes.
Yes.
So could you go out and acquire him? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. They would probably take, Daryl Morey loves draft picks. Like, could you get off the Lakers pick next year? Do you not think the Lakers pick is going to be valuable? It's not going to be top 4, because if it's top 4, it gets turned into second-round picks, or it doesn't convey to the Jazz. So it's probably going to convey. That's the nice thing. But it's probably not going to be like the 6th pick now. Like, the Lakers are playing pretty well. So maybe you can trade that, and the 76ers get a little bit of a high upside flyer, and you get a good player in Quentin Grimes. Like, that's another name I would throw out there that would maybe be interesting.
Yeah. I don't really see a world where the Jazz do some massive buy this year. Like, I think they're going to be like, we're going to ride the ship until maybe like the trade deadline, and then we'll make a decision based on what our record is there, whether we're trading people or what the final 30 games looks like.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Last question from Skiing Sport Utah. Why should we watch or care? I'm running out of reasons.
This is a totally different season than last year.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to watch, I'm not selling the team. I couldn't care less, and I don't mean to be dismissive. I appreciate you're listening to the podcast, or at least interested in the tweet, but oh man, they're like, this is the end of this. Now maybe you don't want to watch this. I don't blame fans. Like, I'm a sports fan. I'm a White Sox fan. They just got the number 1 overall pick. I was excited about it. I'm not going to watch White Sox games next year. They're going to win 50 games next year. Like, that's not fun. But when they're good again, I'm going to tune in. So if you're just waiting for the team to be good again, great.
Yeah.
That's good for you. That's, my dentist is a Jazz fan, has season tickets. He talks to me about it all the time. He doesn't care right now. Yeah. Great. Good. You don't have to.
No.
You're a dentist.
Yeah.
You have other things going on. I am a Jazz analyst. Like, I cover the NBA. I have to talk about it. So this is my job. That's why I do it. Like, I don't tune into other bad. I do watch other bad basketball teams, but I don't watch other bad sports teams just to get my fix. Like, if your fix is a winning team, this is not a winning team.
Yeah.
But if you like the process and you like kind of the ins and outs, and you will listen to this podcast, I assume you like the ins and outs. Like, listening to a podcast for a team that won 17 games last year is sicko behavior. And we did a lot of them, but people listened. We can see the numbers. So if that's the case, Keontae's breakout, Lowry returning, all these draft picks you have.
Best Jazz prospect since,
Ace Bailey, all these fun things. Nurk is really fun to watch. I love watching Nurk. Maybe you don't love his Twitter, but whatever. He's a really fun player to watch play basketball. It's weird. It's different every night. He does something I haven't seen a player do in a Jazz uniform every night.
I am a basketball sicko, but I'm also I am a sicko for all of my favorite teams. I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, and to me, it's cool being like, I watched Jackson Smith and Jigba in his rookie year when he was like the third or fourth best wide receiver,
right?
And now he's the best wide receiver in the NFL,
right?
And it's like it's cool to see the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly right.
So
if you like the process, if you like the story, if you like the enduring, that is what a lot of people bought in for. But you know what? That's Ski and Sport Utah. What is
yes.
It? You probably could have said the same thing about Karl Malone and John Stockton in 1993, and you wouldn't be wrong. If you just wanted to become a Jazz fan in 97 and 98 or 96, 97, 97, 98, you got to enjoy the finals. That's fine. Yeah. You can come back around. I have no problem with bandwagon fans. It's not a bad word in my opinion. Life is hard, man. Yeah. There's a lot going on. If you only want to watch the fun stuff because that's what sports are as a release for you, great. I honestly think that's a very healthy relationship to have with it. Don't be the guy who's mad that his bad team is bad. I know Jets fans that are mad every year. I'm like, you're a Jets fan.
What'd you
this
expect?
is the design. Yeah, I don't know what you say. I park my car illegally and I get towed every day. What's going on here? It's that's the deal. You're a Jets fan. That's the deal. Yeah. Right now, the deal is the Jazz are bad.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
It's like being a Kings fan.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be surprised by it. But this is the design. So if you're looking for things to hold on to because this isn't delivering it for you, there's not going to be anything this year.
And also, Austin Ainge and Ryan Smith and Will Hardy aren't evil people. They aren't losing games because they want you to suffer.
They're
losing
not
games.
masochists.
Yeah, they're losing games because they believe this is the best path for them to win again.
Yeah, they think this is part of the process to get back to a team that starts next season 8-5, and then is 18-13, and then is 25-22, the ups and downs of the season, and then you watch the last 15 games of the season, Jazz got to win this one. This is a must-win game for the Jazz, which they have not had in 4 years now. You're going to get back to that point, I think, next season. I think that's what next season looks like. I think this is a 500 roster next year, maybe a little bit above, maybe a little bit below, but you're talking about actual must-win games, which is not the case this year. And if that's not your bag, please spend your time doing something else. Not because I don't want to talk to you, but because, that's not exciting. This isn't a fun product if you're not into this aspect of it. And I think that's 100% fine. Totally legitimate.
I think that's it.
Okay. I'm sorry if we missed anybody. We did get late questions while we were answering, but I think you're right. I think we touched on everything.
Yes.
All right. We have not discussed what we're going to do next week. We will figure it out.
Yeah, we will.
And I will send out a tweet whether we're recording or not. But appreciate everyone who is listening. If not, there is, I guess, a chance this is the last one of the year. I kind of think I will record one solo the Monday when I come back, which will be the 28th or the 29th.
Okay.
And you could be remote, but I don't know what you're doing. If you're taking holidays
off. If it's not the 28th, because that's my mom's birthday, if it's the 29th, then we could do a Zoom one.
Yeah, I don't even know what the date is.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. But appreciate everyone listening, as always. Hope you have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays if I don't talk to you before then. If not, find us on Twitter at Seahole Sports and Ben's Hoops, and we'll be back with you sometime.
Soon.